Ayahuasca told me like, no, you're not actually allergic to cats. And it told me the story that my grandfather killed a cat and that I need to apologize to all the cats through this cat, which I did. And then it said you have to go back home and you have to adopt a cat, which I did. And ever since that, I had plenty of cats and I never had allergies. So my allergy was healed just like this.
Hey, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of Broadcasting Seeds. I am your host, Bennett Tanton, and today we have Sam Believ from the Ayahuasca Podcast. But, Sam, for those people that don't know, you tell people who you are, what you do, and where people can find you.
So first of all, thanks for having me on the show.
Absolutely.
My name is Sam, and I am originally from Latvia. I've been living in Colombia now for 9 years, where I started Luwaira, which currently is the best rated ayahuasca retreat in South America, where we've given ayahuasca now to close to 3,000 people. And as you said, I run Ayahuasca Podcast, where I educate people about everything ayahuasca and psychedelics related. In my past life, I was an engineer working in offshore oil and gas, so it was never like if you'd asked me 10 years ago what I would do 10 years from now, I would never expect that because I didn't know where Colombia was on the map. I didn't speak Spanish, and I didn't know what ayahuasca was, and I've never taken any drugs because back then I believe it was a drug. So that's kind of a bit of summary. And now I live here in Colombian countryside. I have 3 small kids, 1, 3, and 5, and I'm very passionate about plant medicines and educating people about them.
Yeah. So your journey's pretty unique. What led you from your previous career into this world?
So the short story is, to sum it up, is just unending line sequence of synchronicities, serendipities, chance events, where it almost feels like I'm following the trail of breadcrumbs. Right people, right information, right events come one after another. But in short, when I first came to Colombia, I just loved this. I love the country. I traveled through South America. Eventually, I came back again. During my travels, I would hear a lot about ayahuasca. And eventually, when I settled down in Colombia, slightly before COVID began, I felt that calling to ayahuasca. And different people describe it differently, but it almost feels like you're in an echo chamber and all you hear about is ayahuasca. And then synchronicity presented itself, and I had the opportunity to participate in the retreat. And not the retreat, but more like a standalone ceremony, which I did. I didn't think much of it back then, but it started changing my life gradually. Like I went from never believing myself to just believing in myself for no particular reason. I just started setting big goals and going towards them and actually achieving them. But long story short, when COVID started, I got really depressed because I was in between my offshore oil and gas profession and not really knowing what to do in the future. It was before I organized any ceremonies or something like that. And I went back to ayahuasca to help me heal with a very serious intention. And it started lifting the fog a couple weeks at a time, a month at a time, giving me space to breathe, giving me space to learn new things and try new things. And eventually, I really wanted to go to the jungle, unexplainably so. I've never been to jungle before. And I was looking for someone to take me there. And then a guy messaged me on Facebook and he's like, so I had a property where I was renting some rooms and I was promoting it on Facebook. And he messaged me and he said, can I rent your property to do an ayahuasca ceremony? Which for me was huge synchronicity because I had to travel very far away to do it. And then as he came, he said, I love this place. We're going to do it. But first, we're going to the jungle. When we come back, then we'll do it. And once again, I asked him to join. I ended up going to the jungle. And there in the jungle, I had a message from the medicine where it was more complex than that. But to sum it up, it basically told me your purpose that you're looking for is this. Ayahuasca is your purpose. And it basically told me that I can heal people, and it told me that if I don't do it, I will never be happy. Like, this is your path, you do it. If you don't do it, and I followed that path, and ever since then, it's always synchronicities. It's always coincidences. Something seems to be guiding me on some path and helping me, which is really strange for me to explain. And still, as a skeptic and as an engineer in the past, and coming from a very non-religious background, it is strange to admit, but I just have no doubt anymore. Even from a very scientific point of view, N of one, I could outline all of the things that happened to me, and you just can't deny that there's some kind of support, invisible support.
Something's going on there, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So, for someone who's never experienced ayahuasca, how would you describe what that journey is like?
So it depends on how the way you do it. In a perfect world, and I would outline the way we do things here at Lawara, but it would start with preparation, where you would sign up for the retreat, and they would vet you medically, make sure you are eligible to partake, and then they would guide you through preparation, some form of online course. Um, to get ready to understand what's going to happen and how to navigate that experience. Then you would come to the retreat, and there would be a group of loving facilitators, and it will be a beautiful, safe space for you to be at. And then you would once again get some more training, and then you would get to know the group, do some word circles, get really cozy in the space, and then in the evening you would come to the ceremony space, where you would come to the altar, and the shaman would look you in the eyes and then pour you a cup of this thick, viscous liquid, not the most pleasant tasting. And then you drink it, and you lie down on your mattress, or you sit by the fire, and then you'd go through a psychedelic experience where you would see past, see future, see your traumas, see your past life, meet God, go to another planet, or anything in between. And it would be accompanied by purging, vomiting, or diarrhea. Not all the time, but you might purge once or twice, whichever end, sometimes both. We call that double trouble. Most of the time, one or the other.
Yeah.
But you would see things that would be meaningful to you, and the next day you would be in a word circle, and you would journal about, you would integrate that experience, and hopefully bring some of those lessons back to your day-to-day life, and understand that maybe something needs to be changed or improved. And ayahuasca would give you homework. um, Different people have different experiences. As we like to say, is ayahuasca always gives you what you need, but it rarely gives you what you want. So we encourage people to have an intention when they come to the retreat, so they have a reason why they're there. But a lot of times ayahuasca will take you somewhere else, and um, there's honestly so much variety. It almost feels like 1,000 different medicines at once. For example, I'll outline my first experience. My first experience was very visual. It was very much about the mystery. For some reason, I was shown things about ancient Egypt and pyramids, and it's like not really what you expect to see in the Amazonian jungle, but there was something in it for me. And a lot of the things that happen, they are actually unconscious, so you might get healing without even knowing you had one. Sometimes people even feel nothing at all, and they come back home, and their lives change, their addictions sort of drop off. But in most cases, it requires you coming, drinking the medicine, going through the journey, and then going back home and actually doing the work where you implement all of the knowledge that you pick up. But like our motto, for example, is connect, heal, grow. And it's because first you come, you connect with the medicine, with the group, with the universe, with God, with nature. Then you heal physically, mentally, spiritually, and then you grow. And then growth can include anything from getting creative and coming up with new business ideas to, meeting God or exploring the secrets of the universe. So we like to focus people heavily on the healing part, because I believe this is the most pending in our current society. So many people on antidepressants and mental health crisis. But the spirituality is an inevitable part of ayahuasca or any work with psychedelics. You eventually come to those realizations, and which I think is very important in healing as well.
Yeah, absolutely. What are some of the I would say, what are some of the more meaningful experiences that you've witnessed people have?
I mean, very common ones are somebody comes and they've been feeling somewhat strange their entire life. They don't know what's wrong with them, but they're never really happy. And then they would drink the medicine and they would remember an event or trauma that caused them to be the way they are. And then they, through the medicine and also then through therapy or different forms of integration, they process it and their life just improves and they become happier, healthier person. Sometimes people come and they have a specific addiction and then they go back and the addiction just no longer calls them. They no longer want to drink. They no longer want to take drugs. I've had people quit everything from cocaine to weed. Not always is just that easy. Sometimes it
Yeah.
requires a lot of work. Or sometimes you have a person coming and they have beautiful experience and then they go back home and then they come back a year later and they said, ever since I left, I started a business and I ran a marathon and I wrote a book and like things just changed and they something unlocked in them. Um, or sometimes somebody comes with a physical ailment like psoriasis or autoimmune issues and a lot of disease that's caused by an underlying emotional issue. They just sort of start unwrapping and people get healed and they feel better, relationships improve. It's not always a linear path. A lot of times it's like two steps forward, one step back. But yeah, I've seen. I've had at least a couple hundred people tell me that we've changed their life and they're very grateful. So it is very meaningful. Or sometimes people tell me after the retreat that actually they bought a one-way ticket and they said that if this doesn't gonna work for them, they were going to kill themselves, right? And
Oof.
they're all still alive. Because ayahuasca is a powerful tool, right? So it very quickly shows you, um, you know, what life is all about and how much beauty there is. So yeah, it's pretty meaningful work.
Yeah. So do you see this more as, I guess, the word psychological, spiritual, or something that blends both?
Yeah. So the reality is, as I say, it's like it's a multi-tool and it has so many different facets. It's like a Swiss knife, and like, oh, let me work on this emotional issue, or let me go and explore spirituality, or feel the spirit of the plant, and all of that is in the same thing. And depending on sort of which frequency you tune into, or what it is that is most pending for you, it can take you on. I've had ayahuasca more than 100 times, and I've never had the same experience twice. Sometimes it's very
It's wild.
DMT-like, sometimes it feels like you're in the mushrooms, and sometimes it feels like, whatever psychedelic I've never tried before. So it does feel like 100 psychedelics in one, but, I think it's a blend, and I think even trying to separate psychology from spirituality is kinda probably not really accurate because in the end, when you go deeper and trying to understand how the brain works, those lines blur and you start
Yeah.
like asking, what is consciousness? Where is it coming from? And we don't know, as like science doesn't know. It's still up to debate. But whatever it is and whatever the mechanism is, what I do know is that it works because people ask me like, oh, like, who is that giving me those messages? Is it a plant spirit? Am I talking to God? Am I talking to your subconscious? I'm like, I don't know, but like whatever the information you get tends to be useful, and then your life improves afterwards. So that's kind of what matters.
Yeah. So it's safe to say your perspective on reality or consciousness has changed since you got into the space.
Yeah, I've been revamping my worldview over and over again. Depend like things happen, I'm like, okay, I need to revise it again. I went from being an engineer from a secular country, meaning
Hmm.
like Latvia used to be part of Soviet Union. Religion was prohibited in Soviet Union. Like the only mention of God I would hear would be when something falls on your feet and you like swear, or like, oh my God, kind of concept. but there was no religion, and so for me to go from being an engineer and not believing in anything, like when I first drank ayahuasca, I thought like I'm gonna take it and it's gonna enhance neuroplasticity in my brain and
Yeah.
reset my neurotransmitters, which probably does as well. And now I talk about things like synchronicities or spirits or entities, or I saw enough now to undoubtedly say we're not just meat sacks living, eating,
There's something
procreating, and
else going
dying.
on.
And I now my current worldview includes I don't believe we're just here for one time. I think we are um, the souls that come here over and over again to learn something, and then we go back again. And I'll believe in this. I believe that um, um, we're all connected. I believe that Earth is not just a rock, but it's more of a living organism. I believe that um, different people can see a same thing at the same time or communicate in distance, and I've seen undoubtedly proof of that.
Yeah.
So I'm
So,
not just saying all those things as like, oh, this is my belief system and I believe
right,
it,
right.
but it comes from actual experience then made me change my beliefs. Because the way we operate at my retreat is we don't tell people what to believe in. We
Yeah.
tell them this is what you do and this is how to do it best. But then the information comes from the medicine. And the amount of time I've had people drink the medicine from different countries, different languages, drink the medicine and come back with same messages, you start forming patterns together with
Yeah, for
the
sure.
information that I myself seen directly through the medicine.
So with something that's this powerful, um, I imagine preparation matters. So what does that look like? Not just preparation like in the medicine, but preparation for like the person.
Yeah, so um, I've recently been interviewing someone and they talked about the MK Ultra experiment and like
Yeah.
how CIA gave psychedelics to people and then observed them, right?
Yes.
And it's like imagine you just all of a sudden you're starting to lose your mind. You're gonna freak out. So this is the example of absolutely zero preparation, and you probably are not gonna expect to have a nice experience. At the same time, even if you just tell them you're going to get this psychedelic and you're going to feel a certain way, don't freak out, look around, enjoy the nature. Just that difference, like a 1 minute preparation, is going to make a huge difference.
Hmm.
But at the same time, with something as complex as ayahuasca, like our preparation includes a 3 hour video course and then a long form you have to fill where we, tell you like, is ayahuasca even a good option for you or not? And then when people come, there's sharing circles. There is two different workshops. So total, I would say it's about at least 10 hours of preparation. Because most importantly, we try to put you in a place where you are at ease with your environment and and you have a set of tools to navigate that experience. For example, what to do if I start freaking out, like how to ground yourself, how to use breathing, what to focus in, what not to focus in, how not to resist, how to let go. And yeah, I will need an entire episode to kind of go through our workshop. But
Right.
yeah, for people, I'm going to plug it in with your permission. For people that want to see the video course that we do, you can see it for free at ayahuascacourse.com. Come
Yeah.
check it out, and you'll see exactly what we're talking about. But there is a lot. It's a deep topic, and as you start, because we see so many people going through those experiences, and we have their questions, and we answer them, we kind of were able to build a pretty complete curriculum for people.
Yeah, because I can imagine feeling safe and supported
Mhm.
during that experience is key, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, preparation is only a part of it, right? then you have to feel safe in your environment. You have to the place have to be safe to begin with, like very little sharp corners, no staircases, wide passages, so you don't just hit yourself, and nothing to cut yourself with or burn yourself with. But also at the same time, it helps to be surrounded by nature. It helps to be surrounded by a group of very loving facilitators, knowing that there is a shaman in the space who comes from a long lineage of shamans and know exactly what you're doing. All of that together creates, plus that preparation creates an environment in which people can, like, we're able to have people have this difficult experience, but consistently come out of it with very positive outcomes.
Yeah.
Um,
So why do you think more people are becoming interested in this right now? Because and this is just, I never knew that there was not even anyone doing this in Colombia, because you always hear of Peru or other
yeah.
places, right? But why do you think more people are becoming interested in this
Mm.
right now?
So first, interesting fact about Colombia is that ayahuasca is as traditional to Colombia as it is to Peru, and actually used to be even more known in the world than Peru. For example, ethnobotanist like Richard Evan Schultes, he went to study ayahuasca in Colombia, and Dennis McKenna and Terrence McKenna, when they went on their search for psychedelics, and I interviewed Dennis McKenna on my podcast, they went to Colombia as well. But what happened afterwards? Narcos happened, and
Yeah,
cocaine happened, and
yeah,
Colombia became unsafe to travel. And a lot of psychedelic tourism actually went to Peru instead of Colombia, and it was a blessing and a curse. Curse because obviously nobody knows that it exists here in Colombia, but blessing is because it wasn't really overrun as Peru were, and there's not like you can't really come here and buy ayahuasca at the market. It's
yeah,
still controlled and it's still very traditional. But why people are waking up and asking questions and looking for medicines is because look around. I mean, like our world is falling apart, right? There's issues on every side, wars. Every third person is depressed or anxious. Something is just not right, and our trust in systems, our trust in governments, our trust in mainstream media, especially after COVID, and our trust in like big pharma and medical establishment is just disappearing. So people are asking questions: if this doesn't work, then what does? And I have plenty of heads of hospitals coming here and drinking ayahuasca because their own system failed them. Like you can't seem to heal depression with antidepressants, and everything seems to be designed to only hook people up and continue making money, and then you keep prescribing them even more medicine to treat the side effects, and then you people end up with a huge list of medicine they take every day, treating side effects of side effects of side effects. And so yeah, I guess people are just waking up, and thanks to internet as well, they're like, well, there must be something else. And then they find stories of people that worked with plant medicines. And I'm not saying that ayahuasca is going to fix all your problems. I'm still a big believer in combining it with therapy and other modalities. But all of a sudden, people get relatively notably quick results, and the word is spreading. That's what I think is happening, and I believe it's a great thing because I wish we lived in a society where yesterday everyone had ayahuasca, and then people would be much nicer to each other, and maybe we would realize that we're all part of the same. Maybe we'd stop trying to kill each other all the time, or be so angry at each other, or try to, you know, live in a dog eat dog world.
yeah. So what have you learned from indigenous traditions that have like really stuck with you?
So there is this notion. For some reason, people think that indigenous people are still those. They're like wood elves. They just live with the trees and they
Yeah,
around bare feet, and they're this like enlightened human beings. No, no, like they're actually humans. Not all of them are good. Not all the shamans are good. But I'm gonna talk about the best of them I met. Like my shaman, right? He comes from a lineage of 7 generations of shamans. Like his dad's a shaman, his dad's dad was a shaman, etc. And what I learned from him is like love for the nature, like how they still take care of their land, how they, he always talks about concrete jungle and how unhealthy our life is and how disconnected we are from the nature. Obviously, ayahuasca teaches that a lot as well. He talks about like how we need to like treat our bodies as temples because this transporter and this body is the only one we have, at least in this life. So we need to treat it well, and what you eat and the information you put in it as well. Um, uh, Practically, yeah, I like the way the simplicity with which they live and how little things they need to be happy. So those would be the main lessons. But indigenous people and shamans, I guess, slightly different thing. But um, what I've learned and what I've observed in my shaman is like how complex the actual shamanism is, how hard it is to perceive, but how important it is to have a real shaman with like very very deep psychedelic work, and how much a shaman can do, and in a ceremonial setting. That's I guess that's what comes to mind.
Yeah. So a lot of people that watch or listen to my show, that my audience is really interested in spiritual growth and understanding like the unseen. So how do you think experiences like this can fit into that bigger picture?
So I think that once again, there's many different routes to spirituality or awakening or nirvana, what's this, some savati, samsati. I don't know all the names, but like you can meditate your
Yeah.
way to it. You can use yoga. You can use breath work. Some people just have random, spontaneous awakening experiences. Ayahuasca and plant medicines is one of those routes. And if the analogy that I really like is if that spiritual experience is the top of the mountain has different routes to get to the top of it. The way I see ayahuasca and plant medicines is large is like a helicopter. It takes you straight to the top, but there is like a clause in the contract that says that after a little bit of there, it's going to take you back to like second stage or like half the way back down, and then you need to find your way back, meaning that you will definitely experience very highly changed states of consciousness, and you might experience presence of god or various things that people associate with those states, but then you will eventually go back to normal or slightly improved. But I believe that the benefit of seeing that those states is that you can then sort of reverse engineer your way back to them sooner, because at least you know what it is you're trying to achieve. But I think eventually our goal is to get there by ourselves. So for people that are working on being spiritually connected, eventually it's important to be able to get there without psychedelics. um am I answering your question?
Oh yeah, absolutely. So you had also earlier you had brought up patterns that come from these experiences. Now, when you say that, what do you mean? Like there's like people come back and there's every experience is different. I understand, but there's probably parts of them that rhyme.
Yeah.
So what are you seeing there?
So there are certain universal truths that people come back with, and they might sound like platitudes, like it's just like such a overused thing, like self-love.
Yeah.
People come back and they say, well, self-love is really important. Like I felt self-love, and no matter of how much time I spend explaining it or how much books people read, unless you have the felt experience of self-love, it's you will never understand it. And you can definitely, many people come back with that, or things like God is within you. It's like, what is that, right? And you can talk about it and you can read
Yeah.
books about it, but through those plant medicines, you can have a lived experience of God being within you, and it changes you forever because all of a sudden you're like, what am I afraid of? Like, if I die, I'm with God. If somebody I love dies, they're with God. If I am in prison, and well, God is still with me. It's like there's nothing really that can ever disconnect you or destroy your soul. It's immutable. So things like that. I'm blanking now, but um, think of all the platitudes you hear. Those come back as like truth. I used to have a list somewhere with like 7 or 9 of them.
Yeah.
I wish I recalled it, but yeah, it's about like everything is love, right?
Yeah.
God is
Right. Right.
real.
Which is
Um,
huge.
yeah, we're all connected is another one. That notion of we are uh, spiritual beings having a human experience over and over again.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
funny how people describe those same things with different analogies and different stories, but it points to the same way. For example, somebody might say, oh, there's this spaceship and we come down and we are aliens and we have this experience and then we go back. Or somebody might say, oh, it's like there's the soul and we get reincarnated, and many different languages, but describing the same situation. So those are the ones that come up most often, and you can't help but reevaluate your view of the world. And in my opinion, also like that last one, right? That we are eternal, and this is just one of the episodes in the show. Even if, let's say, I'm completely wrong and all those people are wrong, it's still a more helpful way to live life than just thinking that you're gonna
Yeah.
die and rot and
Die,
disappear.
and then that's it. You're
Yeah,
into the
it's not a
darkness.
pleasant
That's
thing.
it.
It's not a pleasant thing to think and the way to live your life. I mean, and if we believe that, then we're probably going to be less nice to other people around us because
Yeah.
we think like, oh, it's just about this, and I need to get the most out of it, and let me like rob and steal just to be nice. This is
Yeah.
not what we're about.
No. So you've done this a lot, right? Can you walk me through one specific experience that really has stuck with you?
Um, yeah, I've done a lot of ayahuasca. Um, I can't really choose one. Let me think about a recent one. So no, let me talk about the one that really changed my life, right? The one that
Okay.
where the medicine gave me the message. But so I was in the jungle and I was drinking the medicine, and as I took the cup and I connected to the medicine, I kind of broke through, and it's like it's kind of DMT like at some parts. But I've never done DMT, but I've interviewed plenty of people talking about DMT, like the guy that connected us together. So
Oh yeah.
I'm Adam Butler is his name.
Yeah.
I um I kind of understand what it like, very visual and very like mechanical. And eventually there's like different realms you go through, and I ended up at this place where it was very mechanical. It was like very like buzzing and machine like, and
Yeah.
there was this entity there that I couldn't see, but I could hear it. And it basically told me like, welcome, look around. And maybe it's because I'm an engineer, but it told me like, oh, this is how the universe works. Here's our machinery. Look around. You're welcome. Check it out. But like, we're very busy here right now, so I can't really talk to you much. But this is like where it can be. And then I started getting those downloads with where it was showing me about moving energies and healing people with my hands and all that kind of crazy stuff. And as it was happening, I was singing Icarus. I was singing indigenous chants, which I've never even heard before, and I've only found about it later when people told me. So that's as much as I remember from that part. And then when I came back, um, there was I was sitting there and there was a cat, and the cat jumped on my lap, and I was allergic to cats. And I was like, I can't have this cat. Like, I like cats, but I'm allergic. I'm going to get allergy here in the middle of a jungle. I don't have any allergy pills. And what if I take an allergy pill? Maybe I can't take it with ayahuasca. And I was like kind of freaking out. And ayahuasca told me, like, no, you're not actually allergic to cats. And it told me the story that my grandfather killed a cat and that I need to apologize to all the cats through this cat, which I did. And then it said you have to go back home and you have to adopt a cat, which I did. And ever since that, I had plenty of cats and I never had allergies. So my allergy was healed just like this. Um, so that's just part of it. And then I had the ability to practice that newly learned, downloaded art of like healing people with my hands. And I took away, there was a guy in a group, he had a headache, and I took away his headache and I put it into the ground. And yeah, all that kind of weirdness. And
Yeah.
it's just all in the one ceremony, right? And that was the experience that in which ayahuasca told me like, this is your path, this is what you need to do, and if you don't do it, you will basically never be happy. And when I came back from it, synchronicity started happening, and I ended up with an ayahuasca retreat.
Yeah. That's awesome.
Yeah, but that's like 1% of it. I
Yeah.
apologize. I realize I'm not really that good. Like some people are really good describing like psychedelic stuff. I'm like, I'm not that good at it. I'm pretty good at
Right.
talking about mental health and depression and things like that. But I need to work on that. You remind me of I need to like learn how to paint a better picture because it's like very impressively visual at the same time.
Yeah. Amazing. Um, but a lot of people who explore altered states, I guess we'll say, or deep spiritual experiences also have can report encounters with things that they can't easily explain. I'd say more like on paranormal type or even
Uh-huh.
supernatural. So not necessarily inside that, but after, right? So sometimes even things that sound like what we would call paranormal or supernatural or cryptids. Have you ever had an experience yourself or talked to anybody that has?
I mean, I met a Sasquatch once on the podcast. Just kidding. I was implying that you're a Sasquatch. So, um, some of the things can sort of be explained away, like two people or three people having a same
Yeah.
vision at an ayahuasca ceremony. But other things that I've seen over and over again, an example is I have a person in the ceremony and they have a deep experience with some family member or a friend that they haven't talked about for to this person in years. And then the next day that person calls them.
Mm,
So I've seen it tens of times where people say like, "Oh, I was thinking about my dad all night, and I haven't talked to him in 2 years." Next day, he calls them and says like, "Oh, like I had a feeling we need to talk." So like, kind of, it's not like very sexy paranoia like paranormal, but
yeah.
it kind of explains to you in a very clear way that we are connected, and one person thinking about the other person has the outcome. Um, and other things that I've seen in ceremony where the shaman does his work and battles some kind of possession or entity
Mm,
of the person, and then it gets removed, and immediately, like that person starts getting calls from family members saying like, "Oh, I felt something shifted. Are you okay?" And then there's like, let's say, a curse or some kind of weird energy was lifted, not just from them, but from the entire lineage or like
yeah,
let's say
like a
female line.
bloodline curse or
Yeah,
something even.
yeah,
Yeah.
I've seen that before, which is really hard to explain. Um,
Have you ever like felt a presence during a ceremony?
yeah, you feel presences. Sometimes you see shadows moving.
Mm,
Sometimes you see entities clearly, both eyes closed and eyes open. Um, yeah, I've personally like one of the experiences that stands out the most to me is we had an avalanche here, and like the river next to us had a huge mudslide right over it. It was like scary, and it happens like once every 100 years. And we were not affected in any shape or form, but it was a scary experience. And then next ceremony after that, I was having an experience with an entity which was like an Egyptian god with a crocodile head. that
Oh, okay.
I
Yeah.
didn't even know it kind of existed. And the entity was trying to teach me how to cast a spell. It was like this mandala-like energetic pattern, and it was trying to tell me like, do this and make certain gestures with your hands, and this is gonna protect you. And I'm like, well, this is cool. And I was like having fun. And next day, I googled that entity, and apparently it was the god Egyptians used to protect themselves from rivers. And I just had this river event. It's like there was no way I could have
Yeah.
known that this entity has this kind of information because I just didn't know. I didn't even know it was a thing. So
Yeah.
kind of like explaining that there's this unconscious cloud of information to which we can get access, and sort of everything that we humans believe in, we place there and it becomes real and it has real properties. And that's kind of explains how we can have different people believing in different gods, but still somehow, getting their prayers answered, if that makes any
Yeah.
sense.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that that god, that Egyptian god's name is Sobek, I think.
Yeah, so back.
Something like that. Yeah, that's wild. That's absolutely wild with the flood and then, yeah, the Nile crocodile. Yeah,
And
crazy. Um, yeah, so that just kind of hit with a question that I was having is like cultural overlap,
yeah,
with what different cultures have described as spirits or guardians or even creatures. Um, and what kind of experience is that? So it kind of shows that it's all kind of like a
yeah.
universal tap, maybe, right?
Yeah, my experience is like I've seen everything from dragons to minotaurs to Christian angels to like literally seeing Jesus for like couple seconds. Even though I'm not the most Christian person out there. It's like, and they all kind of seem to have some kind of information to share with us. I'm like, how is that? Like, shouldn't it be that like there's just one way? And it's interesting because we have many people coming from different religions. We had everything from Buddhists to Muslims to tons of different kinds of Christians, and even like Sikhs with like turbans, and Orthodox Jews, and they somehow all get connected better to their version of God. And that's why like our container is very neutral. We try to not include any religious notions, and people seem to have their own kind of understanding of it. I think about it and I'm like, well, it's like you know, finger pointing at God is not God, right? So our beliefs
Yeah.
is not the actual thing, and it's like I guess it has different angles to it where all of them can be right at the same time. But yeah, I don't have the answer there yet. I'm still sort of working on that part of my worldview. But I'm not done drinking ayahuasca, so hopefully by the time I'm in my 70s, you can have me on again, and I'll have all the answers.
Yeah. So, like the shaman, does he describe these things as more like symbolic or as like real parts of the world that we just don't see? You know what I mean?
Well, I think that both are true at the same time. There can
Yeah.
be entity that is just a stuck emotion in your head that you yourself created. It's like a repressed part of your psyche, but there can also be entity that's literally attached to you and needs to be removed. What I
Oh,
like
yeah.
about my shaman is that he doesn't really say, "Oh, everything is witchcraft." So, for example, a lot of shamans do. It's like, "Oh, everything is a witchcraft,"
Yeah.
and anyone that talks to them is possessed, and you always need to pay the money to help remove that. His wife is actually a psychologist, and people like as a part of the retreat, people have conversations with Taita or shaman one on one, and sometimes people come to them and they're like, "Oh, I feel this, I must be possessed," and he's like, "No, actually, you're just depressed," or like because he can see the difference, and if there's actually something off with the person on like a deep spiritual energetic level, he will also see it and then try to do his best to fix it, right? So, but it's not always the case. Like I would say, I mean, I wish I had statistics, but most of the time, when people think they have entity attached to them, it's not a real thing. But the things that we see in the visions, uh, whether they're real or not. I think like I almost feel like sometimes ayahuasca changes your perception, and you can. It's like putting glasses. Like let's say
Yeah. Right.
you're short-sighted, and then you put glasses, and all of a sudden you can see a different level. But you
Yeah.
can also use a microscope, but you can also use a telescope. But with ayahuasca, there's like 100 billion different layers, and you, depending on which wave you're on, you can see different things. So it's like I think that the space around us is really not that empty, and
Yeah.
it has different energies. Some of them benign, some of them malignant, and some are just they just don't care about you. So,
Right.
but I think about it a lot and I explore it, but I honestly don't have a definitive understanding of it. I
What
invite people to drink ayahuasca and figure it out themselves.
Yeah, for sure. What about outside ceremony? Um, have you ever seen anything weird? Like I brought up my Sasquatch thing, right?
Yeah.
Earlier. You said it. But have you like I mean, it's Colombia. There's some jungle, right? That um and some deep dark stuff. Is there anything that you've seen that's
Oh.
outside of ceremony that kind of you're like, wow, that was weird.
So, I mean, my answer is probably bland and boring. I don't really see much. I don't perceive much. When I'm not on ayahuasca, I don't really see or perceive much. When I'm on ayahuasca and I'm outside of ceremony, I sometimes see things, or I've seen like alien craft a couple times. But my wife, on the other hand, she has like that. She has that gift, and she sees and
Yeah.
feels spirits and energies. Like I don't really see any of that, and I'm so happy I don't, because it's like she's always like, "Oh, like this person has this," and I'm like, "Well, it's not a pleasant thing to experience. You
Yeah,
constantly
no.
like once we were driving past and there was an accident, and she like somehow felt the soul of that person, and she was like not in a good place for like 10 minutes. I'm like, I'm glad I don't feel anything
Yeah.
in that from that point of view. But I mean, I've never seen anything, but people have seen things, and um,
You don't discount it at least. So
yeah,
that's
I don't say it's not real. I
right.
think probably some of it is real. I'm just really happy that I don't see any of it. Like I kind of have this a little egotistic belief that my energy is so beautiful that nothing can even like come close to me, you know,
Gotcha.
which probably is not true. I'm just a human being with all
Yeah,
devices associated.
definitely. So this show, obviously it's called Broadcasting Seeds. And what I like to do is plant seeds in the audience's mind. And one of the last things I like to do in every episode is have the guest um plant a seed for the audience.
Okay. I mean, mine is gonna be obvious, right? Ayahuasca changed my life. I'm very passionate about ayahuasca. Obviously, I have an ayahuasca retreat, and I have an ayahuasca podcast. And I work on a documentary about ayahuasca, and I'm writing a book about ayahuasca. So my seed would be: I would like people to question or explore the idea that they might want to try ayahuasca, because I believe ayahuasca is for everyone. It's not just for people that are spiritual and wear cotton pants and have crystals. It's for everyday folk. It's for people, whether you need to heal something, or you just want to expand your consciousness, or maybe get closer to like understanding the paranormal things, because it depends on what your intention is. You can get so many different things from it. But if if done in a safe setting, safe container, it's just a beautiful experience that will help you get a different perspective on your life. And so my seed would be: try ayahuasca if you can. You're welcome to come to my retreat if you'd like to. And if you go somewhere else, um, just there's plenty of great places. But try ayahuasca, and if not, then at least work with some psychedelics, because in my experience, for me, was the catalyst necessary to break through and really start questioning things, and really start. It jump started my healing journey, and I wish it to everyone else as well.
Awesome. I I want to give you the last word. If there's anything else you want to say, go ahead and plug yourself again. Tell everybody where they can find you once again.
Yeah, thank you so much. So, if you are ready to drink ayahuasca, find us. It's if you Google ayahuasca in Colombia, our website is ayahuascaincolombia.com, or if you go to lawara.com, which is the name of the retreat, LAWAYRA.com, come participate. You'll love it. If you're not ready, but you want to educate yourself and you want to learn more about ayahuasca, check out my podcast, ayahuascapodcast.com. Or if you go on any LLM, ChatGPT, Gemini, and ask what's the number one podcast on topic of ayahuasca, it will recommend us as well. Yeah, I hope you enjoyed the episode and learned something new. I feel sad I don't really have that many Sasquatch
Oh
stories
no.
to tell,
No.
but I think it's better to be honest than to make one up. But
Absolutely. For
I
sure.
can assure you that life was full of mysteries, and I've definitely connected to all of that so much more in the last 5 years of my work with plant medicines.
Absolutely. I so appreciate you coming on.
Thank you so much. Thank you for having me on the show, and I'm happy there's people having interesting, unorthodox conversations on the internet. We all need it.
We do, for sure. That's the truth, right? So, all right. Take care. We'll talk soon.
I was wired and numbers built to explain. Cold steel logic running through my veins. But something whispered through the static noise. A quiet pull I couldn't avoid. Maps don't show where this road goes. Truth ain't found where the data flows. Every answer just led me deeper into a world I couldn't measure. There's a signal buried in the chaos, a pattern hiding in plain sight. You can feel it when the noise drops, like something calling from the other side. I crossed the line between the veil and the fire. Saw things I can't put into words. Felt something ancient pulling me higher, like I remembered what I was before. It don't leave you the same once you see through the frame. There's a truth you can't unsee anymore. Between the veil and the fire. Between the veil and the fire. Not every shadow's just in your head. Not every voice is something you said. Some things live where the eyes can't go, but you feel them deep in your soul. Different faces, same old story. Kings and gods chasing glory. Names all change, but the thread remains. Same old war in different frames. You start to see it in the echoes, in the myths and modern lies. Every culture left a breadcrumb, pointed straight beyond the sky. I crossed the line between the veil and the fire. Saw things I can't put into words. Felt something ancient pulling me higher, like I remembered what I was before. It don't leave you the same once you've seen through the frame. There's a truth you can't unsee anymore. Between the veil and the fire. Between the veil and the fire. What if we're not just flesh and bone? What if we're passing through a borrowed home? What if the fear was never real? Just something built to break your will. between the veil and the fire. Now I can't go back to before. There's something